welcome back to another video. I'm not in the potting shed today. I'm actually upstairs in my house because I want to do a video about this here Monstera Deliciosa, because I think it's actually a good example of what can happen with these plants sometimes. So as you will seen in the title, quite often people will have these plants and they're asking questions like, why won't the leaves split? The whole point of these plants, or the main attraction of these plants, is the amazing looking split and perforated leaves, which gives it its nickname, the Swiss cheese plant. And they really do look amazing, especially when they're mature plants, and they really do have quite a striking appearance. It's the main reason these plants are grown. Now, I was given this particular one, let me think, 1 or 2 years ago. It was just a tiny nursery grown Monstera, and I potted it up. I actually put it into this relatively big pot straight away because I wanted to give it plenty of room to grow. Now downstairs in my house, the way that the house is orientated and focused, it doesn't get a massive amount of natural light in there, and it has been living downstairs and it's been doing fine. As you can see, the leaves are very healthy. It's growing, although slowly, it is growing quite happily. But as you'll see from some of the B-roll, these leaves just keep producing new leaves, and none of them are splitting in the characteristic way. There's a few down here that have split, only partially, not fully. And to begin with, I just thought it was because it was an immature plant, and as the plant gets older and matures, it will develop bigger and more developed leaves. That can happen with plants sometimes, but time's gone on. This is a relatively mature plant now, although still not anywhere near as big as they can grow. They can get sort of 6-7 feet high if you give them the right space and light and let them just run wild. But in this case, it occurred to me very quickly that something wasn't quite right. So I did a bit of research on the old interwebs, and it turns out that not enough natural sunlight can cause the leaves to stay solid and not split like this. So its location where it is definitely in the lower end of the spectrum in my living area. And although it is growing quite slowly, it's been otherwise healthy, but it is obviously just not enough light for it to create these normal pattern leaves. So we've got to do something about that, because obviously we want it looking the best it can. And as you can see, some of these leaves are sort of drooping a little bit. This isn't anything to do with the water. It's just when the new leaves come out, they're obviously quite tender. And a few times some new leaves have come out in the winter and just caught the cold a little bit. If you've been a regular viewer over the last year, I did have a fungus gnat infestation in my plants a few months back, and I had to isolate some of them, and this was one of them, and it had to go in my front porch. And at that time of year it was a bit cold, and so those newer leaves just caught a bit, which means they've kind of slightly drooped. They're perfectly fine, they're not suffering at all, but some of the leaves have just drooped over like that. So all in all, it's a relatively healthy plant, but it's a good example. If you are growing a Monstera in the low levels of light, then you may have this issue as well, where you just get nice glossy green leaves that look quite happy, but they're not going to split in that characteristic way, which is a shame really, because I think it does look amazing with those big split leaves. So the solution is to find a better location that suits it with slightly higher light levels. Now on this side of my house, as you can see in this room here, it gets more sun, although it has actually now clouded over. I think it's about to rain soon. So it's a bit cloudy and a bit dark today, but usually it gets a lot of light in this room, even through the winter. As long as it's not too cloudy, the sun comes around through this window and you'll get a lot of natural sunlight. So potentially, if I can find a space in this room, I might leave it here and see how it does and see if it responds to the extra light. I think it will. It's just a case of finding the most appropriate place. So I thought I would feature this one. I've never featured this plant in any of my videos, and I think it's a good example of what can happen if you don't quite get all the requirements right when it comes down to watering or light requirements or humidity. There's always going to be a fallout and something, but these plants will tell you. That's what I quite like about houseplants. If you pay attention and you give them a good look over on a weekly basis as you're watering them, and you can see what's going on. Usually plants don't react massively quickly, so you can spot something before it's too late and you can make a change, the most likely thing you think it is, and then wait and see what happens. And more often than not, you can turn things around. And this is a good example. This is a perfectly healthy and happy plant. It's just, obviously we want to get those leaves looking the best we can. So a change of home, a change of location, and I think it's going to be a lot happier. I don't expect any massive change over the next 3 months because we're coming into winter, so generally lower light levels anyway, but in a brighter room like this, it's going to be happier anyway. So that's it for this one. I just wanted to show you what I'm dealing with my own plants at the moment. Things don't always go to plan, but that's okay. You know, it's all part of the hobby. These are living, breathing, you know, creatures, if you want to look at it that way. So they take a little bit of trial and error, and everyone's growing environment is different. Some people have high humidity, some people have low humidity, high light, low light, high heat or low heat, and each houseplant will react differently to your environment. So the key thing is to pay attention, see what might not be quite right, and see what you can do to fix it. In another video, I talk about how to correct a sick or dying houseplant and what to look out for and what you can do. So I'm not sure whether that's coming out before or after this video, but it will be along shortly if it isn't. And I think that's a beneficial video as well to watch. So subscribe if you're new around here, and that way you'll be alerted when the new videos come out. But that's it for this one. I hope you found it useful. Please give it a thumbs up if you did, and I will speak to you very soon on another video. Bye for now.